Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book. You know what time it is. I'm going to talk to you guys about Insecure episode 6 season 4. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like, you share, and you subscribe, and you click on that bell button for notification of the what uploads, baby. And for those of you who are returnees, you ain't got the minerals, you ain't got the minerals. Listen, hey, remember we watch such shows as Insecure on backworldtube.com. Make sure you click on that link and get your TV shows. All of you guys always ask me where I watch my shows. Alright, boom. Alright, so we're dealing with a whole episode with Issa after the fallout with Molly. And I think it's really interesting to kind of see how this plays about in their relationship and where they go from here. Obviously, the very first thing is what we see is what we call pride preventing us from apologizing. You see Molly, you see Issa talking to her mirror, you know, discussing with herself, saying she should wait for Molly to come and discuss with her.
Reach out. Have you noticed that you're always the one reaching out and apologizing? Fuck. Yeah, let her reach out to you. She's wrong.
And it's very interesting because when we look at the Bible says that love counts no wrong. And the thing about relationships is oftentimes we may not try to be prideful. We're not trying to be prideful, but we're hurt. And when we're hurt, what happens is to protect ourselves, pride does come in and says, I can't apologize. I don't deserve to apologize because I am justified in how I feel. Right? And you are justified how you feel. Yeah, your emotions shouldn't be disregarded. Neither should you always be in a position where it seems like you're the only one that cares about the relationship you have. But what we do see with Issa and Molly is that now Issa's got this whole situation where she's in a mental state of thinking to herself, should I apologize first and mend a friendship because I need you? Or should I just stay here because should I just stay in the position I'm in, hold fire, and Molly will eventually get it? Right? Because Issa's hoping, I know she's hoping secretly that Molly gets it and it clicks and Molly goes, you know what, I'm going to apologize. And look, some of us have been in friendships like this where it seems very one-sided. And in fact, if you didn't apologize, a lot of times you wouldn't be able to be friends, right? The question you really got to ask yourself is whether this person genuinely cares for you and has a pride problem when it comes to apologizing. Which then, if that's the case, we need to have a discussion later on later on as friends. But if this person truly cares for you, then one of us has to surrender. Do you understand? One of us has to succumb and say, hey, do you know what? I'm going to make the first move. And it's very interesting because I think one of the things that God has been really speaking to me about is as a man, the Bible says in Ephesians 5 verse 21 to about 23 where it says, husbands and wives submit unto one another. And it says that the man should love the woman like Christ loved the church. Now, if you know anything about church, baby, let me teach the church. Then you know that Jesus Christ loved us first, even while we were yet sinners. So it's basically saying that even while you were an enemy to me, even while yet you didn't apologize, even while you were in the wrong, God's saying that I decided to come after you. And it's one of the principles God's really been teaching me about when it comes to true friendship and relationship. Love counts no wrong. Now, am I saying to be in a relationship where the person never apologizes? Not necessarily, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, if the person genuinely cares for you, then count no wrong. If you know the person genuinely cares for you, then count no wrong. If you find out that, listen, you would never speak unless you spoke to them first, then that's a different story. What we're talking about is pride when you two are not good. Do you understand? Now, this has been coming because obviously there's been splits and spats between the two of them. The problem has been that both Issa and Molly have not found the time to be able to discuss their actual problems and their hurt. And the way they deal with it is completely different. Now, Issa's a bit more softer than Molly. Molly's a bit more harder around the edges, and she just gets to a place where if she feels she's not doing it, she ain't doing it, right? That's why she popped off in the last episode. Now, what we see here with Issa is that she's a much softer character. You know, if anything, this is new for her territory. She's deciding today that I'm not going to apologize. No, I'm going to stand my ground. Enough is enough. And sometimes enough is enough. But sometimes Just like we see in the end scene, God presents an opportunity, even though we are the hurt party, to be able to mend true relationships. The person is sitting in the cafe by themselves, tapping on their phone, and you may be thinking, oh, they're not messaging me. They got their phone on them. They're not lost. They're not dead. They're not sick. Why haven't they messaged me? And the truth of the matter is, because they have just a much more stubborn mentality compared to you. But here, the Bible says that heap hot coals upon people's heads, upon your enemies' heads by showing them love. You see, in friendship, sometimes what you need to do is actually take the first step and then discuss. You see, I got to mend that bridge and then get myself to a place where I say, listen, look, hey, I really want to just kind of discuss, look, I know that every time I come to apologize, and this is pride, it takes a lot of pride for me to do that, but I just wish that obviously when there's a fault on yourself and fault on myself, that it's not just one-sided. Do you understand? Because both parties are to blame. I mean, Molly did some shading, but so did Issa. So the moment that Issa became shady, you lost your moral ground. You must understand that. Sometimes we feel justified in the actions that we did, but the thing is, the moment that you came down to their level to retaliate, you now lost your moral ground. That's why you came down to their level. You lost your moral ground. At that point, anybody has to apologize. Anybody can apologize, because none of you no longer are clean enough to say, I deserve an apology. Even if you think your thing is not as big as other person's, the moment that you are acting out of order, you come down to the level, you're gonna put yourself pretty much in a place where one of you's gonna have to apologize. And if you thought you were having a moral high ground, the moment you came down, you can apologize too. So I understand the feelings. Pride is something as well when it comes to apologizing. Pride is something that when it comes to apologizing, we're scared to get hurt. We're scared to be taken advantage of. And we don't understand each other. Conflict often happens when I do not understand your position. Conflict normally happens when we do not understand where that other person is standing and where they're coming from. An example is, if you saw someone running towards you in the middle of the street and you never knew them, how would you feel? A little bit tepid, a little bit anxious, a little bit nervous. But if it was your friend that was running towards you, run towards the street, because you have an understanding and you know who they are and where they're coming from and what they mean to you, the way you open your arms now when they run towards you is different. Why? Because you understand. And understanding means having light in a dark situation, letting your eyes be opened. That's what the Bible says in Ephesians 1 verse 18. Let your eyes of your understanding be open, meaning open your eyes to see and have a different perception. And oftentimes in friendships, it is what will fix a friendship is a change of perception. And this is where both parties have to work together to change the perception. Now, one person can change it and change their perception and come to another person understanding. But if it's not communicated well and the other person doesn't receive it well, then there's still going to be a breakdown in communication. Do you feel what I'm saying? I think one of the things that maybe hurt Issa also is the fact that this was her show, this was her night, this was her event, and Molly showed a discontent by checking her on her night. I mean, Molly could have waited until after the event had finished and said to her, hey girl, I really didn't like what you did with the thing. You see, oftentimes it's not what's said, it's how it's said. That, when you wanna communicate, it is the impact of the information going across. How do you want this information to come across? How do you want this information to get across? How do you want this information to reach? Now, when you begin to think about that, you begin to think about how am I processing the information to deliver? Now, if Molly had said, calm down a little bit, and they said, hey girl, look, you know what? I just felt like it was a bit suspect for you to go behind my back, talk with Andrew, and get Vince Stable to be on the show. When we had already discussed that, obviously, I didn't want to talk to her, I didn't want to jeopardize my relationship, and I feel like you've jeopardized my relationship by doing this. Do you understand? And so when you do that, now the person can come from a place of, oh, okay, I'm trying to understand, you're breaking it down for me, what you're feeling, I have to try and understand now. Yeah, a good friend will try to understand how you're feeling. Someone who doesn't, it's not your friend. What you have with Issa and Molly is people have not really said how they're truly feeling. They've not had the time to really express. They said some things in anger, but haven't really fully expressed in communication. And so, all of these things can be playing in the mind of Issa and Molly as to why they don't get together. And it's funny because obviously Issa then goes back to the start. And when I say it's back to the start, back to her mother. it's interesting. When we feel like the whole world is against us and nobody is for us, but the Bible says God is for us even when everybody is against us, baby. Okay, it doesn't say against, I'm paraphrasing. But anyway, you know, when obviously Issa goes back to her mum, what it's actually stating is going back to the source. It's what happened. Then the mother represents what God represents to us, going back to the source of where you came from. Yeah, you were birthed out of a woman. We were birthed from God. So when I'm feeling like there's no one around me that can help me, that can give me some sound advice, etc., etc. A lot of people do this. When everything's against them, they go back to who? God. God, I don't know if you're really there. I don't know if you're really there. And what they're doing is going back to the source to get an answer. Right? And so what Issa does is goes back to her mother, because that's where she grew up. That's where she was birthed. That's where she can ask some critical questions like, Mum, is my behavior wrong? Do I have traits that are ugly and unattractive and that make people want to step away from me? Is it me? Or am I just going for a patch right now? Right? And when Issa's mother sees her on the doorstep, she already knows what her daughter's gone through. She's not stressing. I won't say she's not stressing. She already knows what her daughter's going through when she's on that doorstep, as a mother does. Point in case when Issa's talking to her mum, and her mum, oh, you know what, it was so beautiful. Her mum opens her arms, and Issa for a second looks and is like, this is what she needs, but she doesn't want to ask for it. Because I see a lot of us, especially black people, we have a lot of pride in different areas. When it comes to even being loved, we struggle with it because we're so used to struggle love. And when someone gives us genuine, pure love, we struggle with that. And so what you see now with Issa now, when she looks at that, it's not natural for her to hug her mum like that. Because that's why she took the time, right? It's not natural for her to step straight away and go and get a physical, intimate hug to feel better about herself. But when she does do it, what happens? The moment she hugs her mum, what happens? She cries. And the reason why she cries is because now she found a resting place. Up until that point, I skipped a little bit where I didn't mention it. Up until that point, you know, before that point, she had just had a terrible experience. But, you know, when she went to her mum, what we saw was the fact that she could now rest. Her mum was safety, her mum was refuge, her mum was a safe house. And as you begin to rest and begin to have to be in safety, you then release what you feel. This is why certain people, when they engage with other people on an emotional level, they're able to tell their whole life story to, because they feel that they're safe in this person's arms and reach and territory. And this is why it's very difficult sometimes for people to open up, because they don't feel safe, nor do they feel like you have their best interests at heart. But with Issa, what she saw was her best interest at heart, and she began to cry. And later on, obviously, we hear something which I call, you know, the Bible says in James, it talks about the fact that the tongue is poisonous. And you hear me say it all the time. The tongue is poisonous. Issa, you know, is sitting on the couch, and her mum says, you know what, I'm just kind of basically saying, her mum was basically saying, you know, I'm proud of you, you know. And Issa's like, proud? Like, whoa, what is that? Like, wait, I've never heard. You see, how can us as children, black children especially, not have heard our parents say, I'm proud of you?
Meant of speaking to all the things that you were interested in and you were good at. I admire that about you.
You admire me?
Is it a white thing? That only their children say proud of you? Like, fam, a lot of us have not heard the words, I'm proud of you. Well done. You're doing a great job. I'm so amazed by what you do. We rarely hear that. So what happens is we struggle. We fully struggle because really and truly what we're wanting, okay, we're wanting, you know, that love, that affection from our parents. And sometimes our parents can't give us that. You know, the oppressions that they go through, the trials and tribulations that they're facing. And so when Issa hears those words, she's just so amazed that she's hearing those words from her mum, right? Because obviously then she pinpoints to an event that happened in the past. Just listen to this. Something in the past when she was younger, it's been eating her all the way to make her think a certain way about her mum.
My hand in too many pots. When did I say that? I mean, it's anniversary. I overheard you talking about it when I was sneaking cake to my room.
That is not what I meant. I was speaking to all...
And she mentions the past event and says, I didn't think you were like that, mum, because obviously when you're speaking to auntie, da-da-da-da. And the mum says, no, that's not what I was saying. I was actually saying this. And this is, and then, again, break down the communications, because people assume we don't get to get the full story because we don't talk, we don't communicate. And this is very important, I think, for a lot of us to notice, see how when communication is put into place, the fuller picture comes into play. When I get your full tongue on something, the full thing comes into play. I get a holistic point of view. And then we see before she gets into before she gets to her mother's house, we see this really, sad situation where, you know what, Issa's enjoying the company of friends, of these women or whatever that she just randomly met. They went to places, etc., etc., and then went to get food, and basically the girls used her. And I felt so sad. And the reason why I felt so sad is because, you know what, this is what happens to people who are, who experience some type of abuse or trauma. They tend to find other people who are trying to exact or even or find people who are trying to abuse or cause trauma in a sense. So you go from one trauma and then you find yourself open and vulnerable, and someone else wants to make you traumatized by doing bad things to you. And that's what's happening with Issa at the moment. It's like, my one good friend has done me dirty. I've tried to help people, and then suddenly I get a bunch of women who gas me up a little bit as well, and make me feel nice, and really what they wanted was just to do me dirty and make me pay for a phone bill, a food bill.
Think about hitting up the bar on the corner. Fancy. What the niggas had.
So yeah, I mean that's the thing, that's the thing. So I think that, and you know what, it's funny because words have poison, and I'll say this again because when Molly says obviously all you do is use people, what's the first thing that Molly's doing now? Issa's doing now. She calls calls the guy Nathan or whatever she's interested in. I hope you don't think I'm using you. And then obviously now she tries to help a woman in the queue with her food bags. Then she tries to help that old man as well. And what she's doing is trying to change the narrative of what she heard. And the reason why is because sometimes part of us believes what the words were saying. When we don't believe it, the words fall right off. But when the words come and we think there may be a chance of truth in it, as to why we are being hurt by the other person, especially the person says, the reason why I'm doing this is because of this. And then you hear it, you internalize it and go, well, if they said that's the reason why, I've got to check myself. And we all do it, self-reflection, self-introversion ourselves, and be self-introspecting, right? And that's what happened to Issa. She started trying to introspectively look at herself and say, hey, I'm not a person that uses people. And then what she do? She tries to now help people to override that narrative that she's hearing in her head. You feel me? So words have so much potency. So imagine if you're a kid and you're hearing over and over again, you're not worthy, you're not good, you're trash, you're this. What happens when they grow up? They feel that way. Now, they may not show it outwardly, but they may meet somebody who then says certain words that trigger them and cause them to recoil and backtrack emotionally and cause them to be in abusive situations.
Just need somebody to help me.
Hey, I got you.
Bless you.
Do you feel me? So a lot of these things start from youth. Yeah? So that's what's kind of crazy about it. And it's funny because obviously when Issa sees the girls later on, she was gonna, she envisages herself taking the painting, slapping it on my girl's head. And you know what? Because of her good nature, she can't do that. Because of her good nature, she's not there. Because she has not aggressive nature, she can't do that, right? And she wishes she could, because she's angry about a lot of things right now, but it's not her nature. And so, I want to end on the last scene, because I think it's very, very key. When you get, God is a very funny God. He does things that are very interesting to us, and he presented a lovely situation he presented a lovely situation to Issa, where she could have gone into the shop and spoke to money. I mean, they owe each other a conversation, right? Because they haven't had one yet. But Issa turns away. See, the blessing sometimes is in the hard work that you're going to do. When I say hard work, not that you're striving to do hard work. The hard work of turning against your nature and turning against the pride that runs in your system. The Bible says pride comes before a fall. You see, God always wants to put us in a place where we're humble. So there are situations in life that will happen to you, and God will make you humble in that situation. Because he uses it as a way to humble us. And now am I saying that God caused the bad situation? No. I'm saying that God uses the bad situations to humble us. He uses it for his advantage. And said, listen, I'm going to let you learn this lesson. Be humble. Be cool. Yeah. So yeah, guys, if you watch shows like this, bkworldtube.com is where I watch my shows. Make sure you do something. Make sure you do this now. Like, share it, and subscribe. Like it. The video, share it, and subscribe to somebody else. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got the minerals, baby. Appreciate you. Stay locked, stay loaded.